Welcome to a new episode of Cheaters Always Cheat. Like, subscribe, and share to stay connected.
I have been married to my wonderful wife, Amy, for the past 15 years. Amy is 45 years old, and over the years, we have built a life together that, up until recently, I thought was happy and fulfilling. I work as an executive at a company, which keeps me quite busy. My job involves a lot of responsibility and often requires long hours, but I have always felt it was worth it to provide for my family. Amy, on the other hand, is a dedicated homemaker. When she was in her 20s, she worked at a plant nursery, which she enjoyed very much. She has a great love for plants and gardening. However, after we got married, she made the decision to stay at home and take care of our family and household. She wanted to be there for our children, and we both agreed that it was a good choice for us. We have two beautiful daughters. Our eldest, Emma, is 13 years old. She is smart, curious, and always eager to learn new things. She loves reading and has a passion for science. Our younger daughter, Ella, is 11 years old. Ella is full of energy and creativity. She enjoys painting and has a talent for drawing. Both of our girls bring immense joy to our lives, and we have always been a close-knit family. Life was good, and we were content. At least, that's what I believed until recently. The truth about my wife's infidelity came to light, shattering the illusion of our happy family. It was a shocking revelation that we discovered in an unexpected way, through our smart TV. Let me explain what happened. Last week, it was our good friend John's birthday. John has been living abroad in a different country for the past few years due to his work. Despite the distance, we have remained close friends. To celebrate his birthday, we decided to video call him at midnight to wish him a happy birthday. We wanted to make his birthday special even though we were far apart. So, after the birthday wishes, the four of us, my wife, John, his wife, and I, started chatting casually. We talked about various topics, including our work, our daily lives, and how we were all coping with the challenges of living in different places. It was a relaxing and enjoyable conversation, just like the old times. John didn't have any other plans for his birthday night, so we decided to continue our virtual hangout. His wife came up with the idea of using Chromecast to project the WhatsApp video call onto our TV screen. This way, we could all sit back comfortably in our living rooms, unwind, and enjoy our time together without having to hold our phones or tablets. Amy and John's wife have always been good friends. When John and his wife lived in the same city as us, we used to spend a lot of time together. Our families were very close, and we often had dinners, picnics, and other get-togethers. It was a great way to maintain our friendship despite the physical distance that now separates us. So, we set up the Chromecast and started projecting the video call onto the TV. We laughed, reminisced about old times, and shared stories. It was a moment of connection and friendship that I cherished. Little did I know, it would also be the moment that changed everything I thought I knew about my marriage. As we were chatting, a notification popped up on the TV screen. It was a message for Amy. Curious and a bit surprised, I glanced at it. That's when I noticed it was from someone I didn't recognize. The message was brief but alarming. It was clear that the content was not appropriate, and it hinted at a relationship that was more than just a friendship. My heart sank, and a wave of shock and disbelief washed over me. Amy quickly tried to dismiss it and downplay its significance, but the damage was already done. The trust and confidence I had in our relationship were shattered in an instant. The happy life we had built seemed to crumble before my eyes, and I was left grappling with the painful truth of her betrayal. That night marked the beginning of a difficult and painful journey for our family. It was a stark reminder of how quickly things can change and how important it is to address issues and communicate openly in a relationship. As I look back, I realize that there were signs I might have missed, moments when I should have paid more attention. Now, we are facing the challenge of rebuilding our lives and finding a way to move forward from this betrayal. Amy decided to connect her phone to our TV since she had already installed and activated the TV remote app on her device. This made it easier for us to control the TV from her phone. To make the virtual celebration more enjoyable, we grabbed some beers and snacks. We settled in for a relaxed and fun evening, chatting and celebrating with our friends despite the distance. As the night went on, we laughed and talked about various topics. We reminisced about old times, shared stories about our lives, and even joked about some of the funny moments we had experienced together in the past. It felt good to reconnect and have a good time, even if it was through a screen. After some time, I noticed that Amy started to look a bit tired. She mentioned that she was feeling a little dizzy, likely from the combination of the beer and the late hour. Before long, she ended up dozing off on the couch. John and I continued our conversation, catching up on life and discussing various subjects. Meanwhile, John's wife had also fallen asleep, leaving just the two of us to continue chatting. About 15 to 20 minutes into our call, we encountered some internet connectivity issues. The call disconnected unexpectedly, and instead of our video chat, my wife's WhatsApp screen appeared on the TV. I was just about to call John back when something caught my eye. There were over 10 unread messages from someone named Lifeline with a heart symbol next to the name. This was unexpected and confusing because I didn't recognize the contact, and I certainly wasn't the one communicating with this person. Curiosity got the best of me, and I couldn't help but wonder who Lifeline was and why they were messaging my wife so frequently. So, I clicked on the profile picture to see if it would give me any clues. To my surprise, the profile picture revealed it was her childhood friend, Matt. I've met Matt countless times since Amy and I got married. He was someone she had always been close to because they grew up together as neighbors and school friends. They had a long history, and I knew that there were even rumors about them possibly dating each other back in their younger days. Despite this, I had always trusted Amy and never thought much of their friendship. However, seeing those messages now made me realize there might be more to their relationship than I had been aware of. The messages were not just casual or friendly exchanges, they hinted at a deeper, more intimate connection that I had not known about. Each message seemed to carry a weight of emotional significance, and the heart symbol only added to my growing suspicion. As I scrolled through the messages, I felt a wave of shock and betrayal wash over me. The more I read, the clearer it became that Amy and Matt were more than just friends. The words and sentiments shared between them suggested an ongoing affair that had been kept hidden from me. I felt a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, and disbelief, as I began to understand the extent of Amy's infidelity. This painful revelation left me questioning everything about our marriage and the life we had built together over the past 15 years. I couldn't believe that the woman I loved and trusted had been unfaithful to me. It was a moment that shattered the illusion of our happy family and left me feeling lost and heartbroken. Now, I had to face the reality of this betrayal and figure out how to move forward from here, not just for myself, but for the sake of our children as well. However, my wife insisted that she never saw Matt as anything more than a friend, and she assured me that Matt wasn't interested in women romantically. She emphasized that Matt was currently single, which seemed to ease my concerns initially. I trusted her explanation and didn't think too much about her connection with her lifeline. But then, as if to challenge my trust, another message popped up in their chat: "Baby, I miss you." This unexpected message raised some red flags for me. It prompted me to delve deeper into the situation, although I approached it with hesitation. I reluctantly opened the chat with Matt, hoping to gain some clarity. As I scrolled through the conversation, it became evident that my wife had been chatting with him consistently through her phone while we were on the video call. It seemed that Matt had been flooding her WhatsApp with messages, hoping for her attention. It turned out that my wife had unexpectedly fallen asleep without giving Matt a goodnight kiss, as she usually did. This explained why he was bombarding her with messages. Upon seeing the blue check marks indicating that his messages had been read, Matt began expressing his feelings of concern and longing. He asked why she wasn't replying and expressed his inability to sleep without her goodnight kiss. He even went as far as reminiscing about their time together, praising her performance in what he cryptically referred to as today's session. Reading through these messages, it became increasingly clear to me that their relationship extended far beyond the bounds of mere friendship. The intimate nature of their conversation and the depth of emotion expressed were undeniable. It was evident that there was something more going on between them, something that went beyond what my wife had led me to believe. At that moment, any lingering doubts I had vanished, replaced by a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. I was certain that my wife and Matt shared a connection that transcended friendship, a connection that had been kept hidden from me until now. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks, leaving me reeling with a mixture of hurt, anger, and betrayal. As I delved into the depths of their chat history, my heart sank deeper with each revelation. It was a stark awakening to the reality of their clandestine exchanges. Night after night, they waded into the murky waters of explicit messaging, with glimpses of X-rated content flickering like warning signs amidst their digital dialogue. Each new disclosure sent a shiver down my spine, a chilling reminder of the betrayal unfolding before my eyes. While my wife lay serenely on the couch, oblivious to the tempest raging within me, I navigated through the labyrinth of their digital dalliance. The graphic content she shared with her secret paramour painted a vivid tableau of their forbidden intimacy. The images and videos, detailed and unflinching, seemed to mock the sanctity of our marriage. Yet, despite the anguish that gripped my soul, I found myself unable to tear away from the screen, drawn by an irresistible urge to unearth every sordid detail. Faced with the overwhelming cascade of emotions, I grappled with a maelstrom of questions, each one a dagger to my already wounded heart. Yet, amidst the chaos, a single desire burned bright within me, the need to understand. To comprehend how and why this betrayal had taken root and flourished beneath the facade of our seemingly happy union. With trembling hands, I attempted to capture the damning evidence displayed on the TV screen, each click of the shutter a painful reminder of the shattered trust between us. Yet, even as I amassed a digital dossier of their transgressions, I felt a gnawing sense of futility, a voice whispering that no amount of evidence could mend the irreparable breach in our bond. As the witching hour approached and the pall of exhaustion settled over me, I found myself adrift in a sea of conflicting emotions. The sting of betrayal mingled with the dull ache of despair, each wave threatening to engulf me in its depths. And yet, amid the turmoil, a flicker of resolve emerged, a glimmer of determination to confront the truth that lurked in the shadows of our shattered marriage. My shattered marriage unfolded before my eyes, magnified on the expansive TV screen, leaving me adrift in a sea of despair. Every moment, every shared memory seemed to lose its meaning as I watched my wife lay bare the most intimate details of our lives to her illicit lover. It was as though she sought to replicate our every private moment with him, as if trying to fill a void within him with echoes of our own connection. The thought made my stomach churn with disgust, a visceral reaction to the betrayal that lay bare before me. Desperate for answers, I continued to scroll through the digital archive of their trysts, hoping to pinpoint the moment when our marriage had been hijacked by deceit. Yet, with each downward swipe, the abyss seemed to grow deeper, swallowing me whole in its dark embrace. As I scrolled, the relentless barrage of messages from Matt ceased, leaving behind an eerie silence that hung heavy in the air. It was as though the very walls of our home echoed with the weight of my discovery, suffocating me in their oppressive silence. Haunted by the specter of my failed marriage, I grasped for something tangible to anchor myself to reality. With trembling hands, I reached out and seized a nearby cushion, its familiar weight offering a fleeting sense of reassurance in the midst of my turmoil. Yet, even as I clung to the cushion, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was trapped in a waking nightmare, a surreal landscape where reality blurred with illusion. In that moment, all I could do was hold tight to the flimsy lifeline of the cushion, praying that it would tether me to sanity amidst the chaos of my crumbling world. As I continued scrolling through the digital evidence, Amy suddenly stirred from her nap, jolting awake with a look of sheer panic etched across her face. In a flurry of movement, she snatched the remote from my grasp and hastily shut off the TV. With trembling hands, she disconnected her phone from the screen, as if trying to erase the damning evidence of her deception. I could only watch in stunned silence as she fumbled with her phone, her actions betraying the turmoil raging within her. With a heavy sigh, she opened her WhatsApp chat, her eyes scanning the messages from her lover with a mixture of guilt and resignation. And then, just as quickly as she had opened the app, she closed it, her shoulders slumping in defeat. In that moment, it was as though she had surrendered to the inevitable. The truth was out, laid bare for both of us to see, and there was no denying the depth of her betrayal. As she turned to face me, her expression softened, and she reached out to gently cup my face in her hands. "Baby," she pleaded, her voice thick with emotion, "I can explain. Please, just listen to me." Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of the confession that hung between us. And in that moment, I knew that whatever she had to say would irrevocably change the course of our lives forever. I met Amy's gaze, feeling a mix of confusion and exhaustion wash over me. "All right, go ahead and explain," I said, surprising her with my calm demeanor. It was clear she had anticipated a different reaction from me, anger, maybe, or outright refusal to hear her out. If it had been 2:30 p.m. instead of the early hours of the morning, perhaps my response would have been different. But at that moment, I was teetering on the edge of consciousness, my senses dulled by alcohol and the shocking truth playing out before me. "I need you to explain, damn it," I reiterated, my words slurring slightly as I struggled to maintain my composure. Amy seemed to falter, searching for the right words as she stammered out, "Well, actually, But before she could finish, I cut her off with a dismissive wave of my hand. "You know what? Don't bother," I said, my voice tinged with bitterness. "You're in trouble." With that, I turned and made my unsteady way toward the bedroom, Amy trailing behind me. As I reached the door, I paused, turning to face her with a sense of finality. "Stay out," I told her firmly, slamming the door shut behind me. I heard her knock a few times, but I paid it no mind as I succumbed to the pull of unconsciousness, the events of the night swirling in a haze of confusion and regret. The next morning, I awoke with a pounding headache and a fuzzy recollection of the previous night's events. As I stumbled out of my room in search of water to soothe my parched throat, I was met with Amy's anxious gaze. The memories of our confrontation flooded back, and I felt a surge of anger and betrayal rise within me. She moved to embrace me, but I held up a hand, stopping her in her tracks. "Not now," I said curtly, my voice cold and distant. "We need to talk, but first, give me some space." With tears welling in her eyes and a crestfallen expression, Amy retreated, her demeanor reflecting a profound sense of sadness. Despite her insistence that I had misinterpreted the situation, her words failed to assuage my growing doubts. Ignoring her pleas, I made my way to the refrigerator, intent on finding some solace in a bottle of water. However, Amy persisted, her voice tinged with desperation as she sought to convince me that my reaction was unwarranted. According to her, the relationship with her supposed friend was nothing more than innocent banter, devoid of any hint of physical intimacy. Yet, her attempts to downplay the seriousness of the situation only served to fuel my escalating frustration. Caught off guard by the unexpected confrontation, I found myself grappling with a torrent of emotions. Amy's attempts to justify her actions grated against my sense of reason, leaving me struggling to make sense of it all. Who in their right mind sends explicit photos to someone they claim is just a friend? I exclaimed, my disbelief evident in my tone. And what about all that flirtation? Wasn't he supposed to have no interest in women? How do you explain his sudden fascination with your private life? As the weight of our conversation hung heavily in the air, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief that our children were not present to witness the turmoil unfolding between us. Thankfully, they were off enjoying their summer vacation with my parents, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing at home. Turning back to face Amy, I fixed her with a penetrating gaze, silently urging her to provide an explanation. My mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, torn between the desire to uncover the truth and the fear of the devastation it would inevitably bring. I found myself yearning for transparency from Amy, an earnest desire for her to lay bare every detail of her actions. Yet, with each attempt she made to speak, I felt a surge of unease sweep over me, causing me to grit my teeth in frustration. It was a battle against the urge to cut her off, to stifle the words that threatened to unravel the very fabric of our marriage. "I need the whole truth," I insisted, my voice tinged with emotion as I reached for a bottle of water to steady my nerves. "Tell me everything, starting from the very beginning. Otherwise, I'll be left with no choice but to confront that duplicitous lover of yours and mete out the justice he deserves." Confronted with the weight of my words, Amy found herself at a crossroads. Instead of resorting to excuses or pleading for mercy, she made the bold decision to embrace honesty. "It's the truth," she confessed, her voice trembling with emotion. "Matt and I have been together for what feels like an eternity. Our relationship traces back to our high school days, and it has endured through the passage of time." In her admission, Amy offered a glimpse into the character of Matt, painting a portrait of a man whose privilege belied his lack of ambition. Despite being born into a family of considerable wealth and owning multiple properties, Matt had never taken the initiative to forge his own path. He relied solely on the financial support provided by his parents, coasting through life without ever having to lift a finger to support himself. I had the opportunity to meet Matt's parents on a few occasions during my visits to Amy's house. Their concerns about Matt's lack of drive were palpable, as they often urged Amy to motivate him to pursue employment or consider venturing into entrepreneurship. It seemed like everyone, except for Matt himself, harbored worries about his future prospects. However, let's delve deeper into the heart of the matter. Amy confided in me that she had, in fact, ended her relationship with Matt on numerous occasions due to his reluctance to fully commit. Yet, each time, he managed to charm his way back into her life. What struck me as particularly curious was Matt's apparent acceptance of Amy seeing other men, despite his own lack of experience in the dating realm. Amy had a history of previous relationships before we became a couple, so I suppose it seemed somewhat plausible, albeit rather unconventional. I couldn't help but question why, if their bond was so strong, they hadn't taken the leap into marriage. Amy clarified that marrying Matt wouldn't have aligned with the lifestyle she envisioned for herself. Moreover, she candidly admitted that her own career trajectory lacked stability, and she didn't harbor any significant professional aspirations that would position her as the primary provider in a relationship. Therefore, she opted to rely on me financially while simultaneously maintaining a clandestine relationship with Matt. This decision led me to ponder a significant question: were our children truly my biological offspring, or did their lineage trace back to Matt? Despite her steadfast assurance that they were unequivocally mine, a lingering doubt persisted within me. To assuage this uncertainty, she proposed the idea of arranging a DNA test, though I remained hesitant to fully trust her intentions. Further delving into her rationale for refraining from bearing children with Matt, she divulged her profound fear that if her clandestine affair were to be revealed and I were to abandon our family, Matt wouldn't possess the capability to provide for our children, even if he desired to do so. This revelation left me grappling with a maelstrom of conflicting emotions. On one hand, there existed a fleeting sense of relief in knowing that the children were indeed biologically mine. Yet, intertwined with this relief was an acute pang of bitterness, stemming from the realization that the very foundation of our familial bond had been built upon a bedrock of deception. In the midst of our tumultuous exchange, a decisive moment emerged. With a heavy heart, I demanded that she vacate our shared abode, brandishing the threat of exposing her truth to all, including our young daughters. Though they were but tender in age, their perceptiveness was not to be underestimated, and I feared the lasting impact that such a revelation would have on their innocent minds. She implored me to reconsider, beseeching me to spare our daughters the pain and disillusionment that would inevitably follow from such a disclosure. Seeking solace amidst the storm of emotions, I replenished my water bottle and gathered a few bottles of beer for a fleeting moment of respite within the confines of my sanctuary, my room, now a refuge from the chaos that enveloped our once harmonious home. With a heavy heart and a mind fraught with turmoil, I retreated behind the closed door, seeking solace in the silence as I grappled with the shattered remnants of trust and the weight of impending decisions. I found myself sitting in front of my laptop, staring blankly at the screen for what felt like an eternity. The weight of the truth bore down on me, leaving me feeling paralyzed and unsure of what steps to take next. It was as if a gnawing sense of unease had settled deep within me, suffocating any clarity or direction. After finishing the last of the beer bottles, I realized I needed to break free from the confines of my room. With a sense of urgency gnawing at me, I grabbed my car keys and set off for my in-laws' place, a journey that spanned roughly 30 minutes. Upon arrival, my mother-in-law greeted me with her usual warmth, but her smile faltered when she caught sight of my flushed face. Sensing that something was amiss, she quickly summoned my father-in-law, who wasted no time in ushering me inside and settling me down. As I sat there, sweat beading on my forehead and my heart pounding in my chest, I knew I had to come clean. With trembling hands and a voice thick with emotion, I began to recount the events that had led me to their doorstep. My throat felt parched, and my body seemed to radiate heat as I laid bare the ugly truth. Just as I reached a pivotal moment in my narrative, the tranquility of the scene was shattered by a series of loud knocks at the door. Before we could react, Amy burst into the house, her expression a mixture of fury and indignation. Without a moment's hesitation, she demanded that I leave immediately, her voice ringing with authority and defiance. She emphasized that our marital issues should remain between us, urging that we handle them without involving her parents. What followed was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions that consumed us both. I confronted her about her decade-and-a-half-long affair, expressing my deep hurt and betrayal, while she attempted to downplay it, claiming it was merely a fleeting and insignificant fling. As our conversation progressed, tensions escalated, with her shifting blame onto me, insinuating that my actions had somehow contributed to her infidelity. In contrast, my in-laws sided with me, chastising her for her actions and reaffirming their support for me. The ensuing weekend was a haze of alcohol-fueled anguish, as I struggled to come to terms with the devastating reality of our fractured marriage. By the time Monday arrived, I found myself physically and emotionally drained, my thoughts consumed by the looming specter of divorce. During my breaks at work, I found myself scouring the internet for divorce lawyers, taking the first tentative steps towards ending our marriage. Upon returning home, I discovered that she had packed some of her belongings and left, a silent acknowledgement of the irreparable damage wrought by her betrayal. Despite her absence, the air in our home hung heavy with unresolved tension and unanswered questions. Her messages, pleading for forgiveness and promising to sever ties with her lover, served as a constant reminder of the shattered trust between us. It feels like an eternity has passed since that fateful day, and now we find ourselves back at Friday again. The days have been dragging by at a painfully slow pace, and I can't shake the feeling that the upcoming weekend will only stretch on even longer. With an appointment scheduled with the lawyer for the upcoming Monday, my mind is consumed with thoughts of what lies ahead. In my search for guidance, I've been immersing myself in Reddit stories, hoping to glean some insight into my complex situation. However, it seems that my predicament is far from straightforward. Beyond my own worries and uncertainties, my primary concern lies with my daughters. How do I navigate this delicate situation with them? Should I even broach the subject with them at this stage? As an update, I must apologize for not keeping everyone in the loop, but I have been in touch with some of you through private messages and comments. It's been a whirlwind 6 months since my initial post, and let me tell you, it's been quite the roller coaster ride of emotions. When I met with the lawyer on that pivotal Monday, we delved into my concerns regarding my daughters. The attorney offered valuable advice, suggesting that I approach the topic with the utmost sensitivity, avoiding divulging too many details that could potentially harm their mental well-being. Furthermore, he mentioned that given my wife's current unemployment status and the nature of her affair, I stand a good chance of obtaining custody. On that very same day, my parents took the initiative to reach out to Amy, urging her to bring the kids back home from their temporary stay. Unaware of the situation, she arrived with the children while I was emotionally drained and physically exhausted after the taxing meeting with the lawyer. Refusing to discuss anything in front of the children and wanting to shield them from the turmoil, I retreated to the solace of my room. Alone with my thoughts, I grappled with the weight of the decisions looming on the horizon, uncertain of what the future holds for us all. When she entered the bedroom, I implored her to sit down and have a heart-to-heart conversation with our daughters about her infidelity. In response, she broke down in tears, pleading for my forgiveness and expressing her deep-seated fear that the girls would come to despise her for her actions. Frankly, after deceiving our family for a staggering 15 years, what else could she expect? The lawyer had informed me that it would take roughly a week to finalize and deliver the divorce papers to Amy. With this time frame in mind, I knew I had a week to navigate the difficult conversations with the children and my parents. I made it clear to her that I had made the decision to divorce her, and her shocked reaction left me questioning where her maternal instincts had been hiding all this time. Despite her protests and concerns about the potential trauma our children might face, I stood firm in my resolve. I gave her a 1-week ultimatum to speak to the girls in her own way, or else I would take it upon myself to reveal the truth. With my trusty pillows in tow, I settled onto the bedroom couch and drifted off to sleep, determined to give her the space to make things right. Throughout that tumultuous week, I found myself leaving the house early in the morning and returning late in the evening, grappling with the weight of impending changes. As the weekend approached, her cries and wails would often echo through the night, sometimes so intense that they roused me from my slumber. While I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her, I couldn't shake the disbelief at how she could have carried on with her deception for so many years, seemingly oblivious to the inevitable consequences. She had ample opportunities to end her affair, yet she chose to persist in her deceitful ways. Every conversation shared in confidence, every moment of vulnerability, every cherished secret, I entrusted it all to her, only to have it laid bare for her lover's eyes. It was a bitter truth that I couldn't shake from my mind. Then, on that fateful Friday evening, she disclosed her plan to broach the topic with our daughters the following day. Nodding in acquiescence, I agreed to her proposal. As Saturday dawned and the aroma of breakfast filled the air, she gathered the children around the table. With a composed demeanor, she began to spin her tale. She painted a picture of a job transfer, a journey to a distant land, and a separation that would last for years. My heart sank as I listened, caught off guard by the unexpected turn of events. Meanwhile, my daughter's eyes widened with surprise, reflecting the shock mirrored in my own expression. Summoning a feigned nonchalance, I interjected with a sarcastic quip, probing whether this meant I'd have to vacate our home. But my attempt at levity was met with a dismissive eye roll from her, signaling for silence as she continued with her narrative. She spoke of temporary arrangements, suggesting that if the house felt too vast for our diminished family unit, we could retreat to the familiarity of her parents' abode. Then, in a half-hearted attempt at reassurance, she mused about the possibility of downsizing to a more modest dwelling in the future. Yet, despite her carefully constructed facade, it was evident that her words left our daughters perplexed. Though young, their intuition was sharp, and they could sense the dissonance between her words and the truth that lingered unspoken in the air. It was my youngest who voiced her confusion, boldly asserting that her mother's explanation didn't add up, while my eldest daughter, wise beyond her years, cut to the chase with a direct inquiry. "Are you guys getting divorced?" Caught in the glare of their probing gazes, I shot Amy a pointed look, silently urging her to put an end to the charade and confront the truth head-on. With a heavy sigh, she finally relented, her composure crumbling under the weight of her guilt and deception. When the girls turned to me for answers, I confirmed their suspicions about our impending divorce. I explained that Amy and I no longer felt compatible with each other. Surprisingly, my elder daughter even suggested that I might be having an affair, which prompted Amy's tears. As my daughter held her mother's hand and questioned Amy about my fidelity, instead of addressing the accusation, Amy simply embraced her, leaving the girls disgusted with both of us. I was seething with anger at Amy's manipulative tactics, unable to fathom how she could twist the situation to her advantage. Frustrated and feeling betrayed, I decided to come clean to my daughters, revealing the truth of how I discovered Amy's infidelity. Of course, I spared them the explicit details. Amy erupted in anger, accusing me of breaking my promise to support her and explaining the situation to the girls. She argued that I had given her the freedom to discuss my supposed job transfer, so why wasn't I backing her up now? Feeling like the situation had spiraled out of control, I resolved to confront Amy's manipulation head-on. I reached out to both my parents and my in-laws, urgently requesting their presence at our home. Despite their proximity, the agonizing wait for their arrival felt like an eternity, as each passing minute heightened the tension in the house. When they finally arrived, my daughters were in tears, clinging to me for comfort. Witnessing their distress, Amy attempted to rationalize her actions, but her words only added fuel to the fire of my frustration and disappointment. Amy resorted to painting me as a deceitful individual and accused me of turning the girls against her. Her tirade only subsided when I mentioned that I had evidence in the form of screenshots of our conversations. My parents were taken aback by the chaotic scene unfolding before them. I provided them with a brief overview of the situation, and they, along with everyone else present, were appalled by Amy's deplorable behavior. Despite her continued sobbing and pleas for forgiveness, I couldn't help but feel a pang of pity for Amy. Seeing her in such a distraught state was indeed painful, but I couldn't ignore the fact that she had brought this upon herself. Instead of vilifying me in front of our daughters, she could have opted for a more honest approach, admitting that our relationship had simply run its course. However, she seemed unwilling to accept even the slightest responsibility for her actions, and now the truth of her deceit was laid bare for all to see, including our daughters. I made it abundantly clear that we were proceeding with the divorce, and the girls would be staying with me. I requested that Amy's parents take her away from the situation. Even our daughters themselves urged her to leave. In a show of solidarity and support, my parents decided to stay with us for a few weeks to lend a helping hand during this trying period. Undoubtedly, it was a challenging time for all of us, but I'm grateful that we managed to emerge from it stronger. Currently, the divorce proceedings are ongoing. Amy has made a claim on my house, which I am vehemently contesting. I firmly believe that she does not deserve any part of it, considering her actions and the pain she has caused. Interestingly, Amy didn't put up a fight for custody of the children, which clearly indicates her priorities and simplifies matters for us. Throughout our confrontation and even afterward, she made promises to sever all ties with her lover. However, it didn't take long for those promises to be broken. Shortly after relocating to her parents' home, she was caught red-handed, sneaking off to rendezvous with her lover at his place. Word of Amy's indiscretions quickly spread among her siblings, and they wasted no time in publicly shaming her. The humiliation she faced was so intense that she had no choice but to pack her bags and leave her parents' house. Moreover, her parents didn't shy away from confronting her lover, Matt, about his role in the affair. They also took the bold step of informing Matt's parents about the situation, causing a ripple effect that led to Matt's financial support being cut off. As a result, Matt's parents ceased providing him with rental income from their properties and urged him to stand on his own 2 feet. It was a swift and resolute response to his involvement in the affair. Meanwhile, Amy has landed a job as a sales agent in a showroom, signaling a shift in her focus toward financial independence. Despite the turmoil and heartache caused by her actions, I've made a conscious decision to stop dwelling on thoughts of her. Instead, my primary focus is on raising my daughters and providing them with the stability and support they need during this challenging time. As we embark on this new chapter in our lives, I am optimistic about the future and remain committed to building a bright and promising future for my daughters. Your well wishes and support are greatly appreciated as we navigate through these turbulent waters. Second story. My wife, who is 31 years old, and I, a 32-year-old, have traversed through life hand in hand, ever since our sweet high school romance blossomed into a lifelong commitment. Our decision to marry came swiftly when we discovered the joyful news of her pregnancy. From that moment on, our journey together has been a tapestry woven with threads of love, laughter, and shared dreams. As we embarked on the adventure of parenthood, our hearts swelled with anticipation and excitement. Welcoming our son into the world filled our lives with a newfound sense of purpose and joy. However, our journey as parents took an unexpected turn when our son's health became a source of concern. From his early years, our son seemed to grapple with health issues that defied easy explanation. Doctors initially suspected anemia, which cast a shadow of uncertainty over his well-being. Despite our best efforts to address his health concerns, the challenges persisted as he grew older. By the time our son reached the tender age of 13, his health struggles had become more pronounced and frequent. Episodes of severe trapped gas left him writhing in pain, his youthful vitality overshadowed by discomfort and distress. Fatigue became his constant companion, no matter how many hours he spent resting. Additionally, bouts of lightheadedness and dizzy spells would often catch him off guard, leaving us all bewildered and concerned. Navigating through these health challenges tested our resilience as a family. Each doctor's visit brought with it a glimmer of hope for answers, yet the elusive nature of our son's ailments left us feeling helpless and frustrated. The uncertainty weighed heavily on our hearts, as we yearned for clarity and relief from his suffering. As parents, witnessing our son endure such trials evoked a deep sense of empathy and compassion within us. We stood by his side, offering comfort and support through every twist and turn of his health journey. Together, we remained steadfast in our determination to uncover the root cause of his ailments and provide him with the care and attention he deserved. Our family bond served as a beacon of strength during these challenging times, guiding us through moments of uncertainty with unwavering love and solidarity. Though the road ahead may be fraught with obstacles, we face it with courage and determination, holding on to hope for brighter days ahead. Our decision not to pursue a genetic test to unravel the mystery behind our son's health struggles stemmed from our assumption that the root cause might be linked to my wife's family medical history. Despite multiple medical examinations indicating a presence of anemia, the exact nature of his condition remained elusive. This ambiguity left us grappling with uncertainty, unsure whether his anemia was genetically inherited or acquired through other means, such as diet or lifestyle factors. Despite our son's diligent efforts to boost his iron levels, his health struggles persisted, becoming an integral part of our family's daily existence. Navigating through the challenges posed by our son's health issues became our new normal, shaping our routines and priorities as we adapted to accommodate his needs. However, a glimmer of hope emerged when we sought a second opinion from a different doctor. It was during this consultation that our son received a definitive diagnosis of celiac disease, a condition triggered by gluten intolerance. This diagnosis brought newfound clarity and relief to our family, as eliminating gluten from our son's diet led to a remarkable improvement in his health and well-being. The discovery of celiac disease, a hereditary condition, offered us a sense of empowerment, knowing that we could actively manage our son's health and prevent flare-ups by making dietary adjustments. Both my wife and I felt a profound sense of relief, knowing that we could now take proactive steps to support our son's health journey. With gluten removed from his diet, our son's energy levels surged, and he regained a sense of vitality that had long eluded him. Gone were the days of constant worry and apprehension about our son's health, replaced by a newfound sense of confidence in our ability to navigate his medical needs. For the first time in 13 years, we felt a weight lifted off our shoulders, allowing us to breathe easier and embrace the joy of watching our son thrive. However, amidst this newfound stability, little did we realize that our family would soon be confronted with a different kind of challenge. The revelation of our son's celiac disease would ultimately serve as the catalyst for the unraveling of a long-held secret within our marriage, a secret that would test the very foundations of our relationship and lead us down an unexpected path of self-discovery and transformation. The doctor suggested that both my wife and I undergo a blood test to determine the origins of the disease in our family. We followed the doctor's advice and had our blood tested, only to receive results indicating the absence of celiac disease antibodies. This came as a surprise, as it meant that neither of us carried the genetic markers associated with the condition. Despite repeating the test, the outcome remained unchanged. During our subsequent visit to the doctor, he expressed his bewilderment at the test results and even raised the possibility that our son might be adopted. This suggestion caught us off guard, and though we assured him it wasn't the case, the atmosphere became tense. I could sense my wife's discomfort during the drive back home, her silence echoing the unease that had settled between us. My mind wandered back to a light-hearted comment I had made years ago about getting a paternity test, a jest that now haunted me with its unintended weight. Her dismissive response at the time, a simple, "Don't be silly," had seemed harmless then, but now it fueled my doubts and regrets. I wrestled with the idea of confronting her about it, but the thought seemed too daunting, too surreal to entertain. Yet, as the days passed, my uncertainty gnawed at me, and I found myself grappling with a sense of betrayal and disillusionment. The realization that the child I had loved and raised might not be my biological son shook me to the core. It was a betrayal of trust, a deception that cut deeper than I could have ever imagined. Despite my inner turmoil, I hesitated to take the definitive step of ordering a DNA test, fearing the truth it might unearth. But eventually, driven by a need for clarity, I mustered the courage to do so. The wait for the results felt like an eternity, each passing moment fraught with anxiety and apprehension. When the results finally arrived, confirming my worst fears, it was as if the ground had been pulled out from beneath me. I struggled to come to terms with the truth, grappling with a flood of conflicting emotions. When my wife returned home that day, she found me in a state of disarray, my world shattered by the revelation. In a moment of raw emotion, I confronted her, demanding answers, desperate to understand the depth of her deception. She recoiled, her initial confusion giving way to anger as she vehemently denied any wrongdoing. But her words rang hollow, overshadowed by the weight of the truth that had been laid bare. I revealed to her the results of the DNA test, which unequivocally proved that our son was not biologically related to me. When she demanded to see the test, I declined, urging her instead to confront the issue head-on. However, she chose to deflect responsibility, attempting to shift the blame onto me for seeking the paternity test in the first place. In her efforts to evade accountability, she portrayed my decision to seek the truth as somehow worse than her own actions. Yet, it was her affair and the subsequent deception that had led to this moment, a reality she seemed unwilling to acknowledge. For 13 years, she had watched our son suffer, knowing the cause but choosing silence to protect her secret. I confronted her with the harsh truth, emphasizing the pain and suffering our son had endured as a result of her actions. Despite my pleas for honesty, she continued to evade responsibility, refusing to acknowledge the gravity of her deceit. Faced with her continued denial, I issued a warning. If she did not come clean about the true father of our child, I would take matters into my own hands. I vowed to reach out to every man she had been involved with over the past 13 years, demanding DNA tests to uncover the truth. My resolve was palpable, my determination unwavering. As I spoke, my eyes burned with intensity, conveying the seriousness of my intent. It was a moment of raw emotion and unyielding resolve, and finally, under the weight of my words, she crumbled. She shared that our son's biological father is a man she worked with in her previous job, unveiling a connection that had been concealed from me for years. The revelation struck like a thunderbolt, shattering the trust one had built in our relationship over the course of more than a decade. It's an emotional earthquake that has left me reeling, questioning the very foundation of our marriage. As she recounted the details of her affair, I couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief. How could I have been so blind to the turmoil brewing beneath the surface of our seemingly happy life? The image of our cozy home, filled with laughter and shared dreams, now feels like a mirage, a beautiful illusion that masked the reality of her infidelity. She painted her affair as a momentary lapse in judgment, a fleeting desire for something beyond the confines of our marriage. But her words offered little comfort, serving only to deepen the wound of betrayal. It's not just the act of cheating that cuts deep, it's the realization that our life together was built on a lie. The news that our son is not biologically mine added another layer of complexity to the situation. The child I had loved and cared for as my own suddenly felt like a stranger, a reminder of the deception that had been lurking in the shadows of our family. In the aftermath of her confession, I found myself grappling with a whirlwind of emotions, anger, sadness, and a profound sense of loss. The home we had built together no longer felt like a sanctuary. Instead, it was a prison of memories tainted by her betrayal. Unable to bear the weight of this revelation alone, I reached out to my boss for support. Despite our professional relationship, he offered a sympathetic ear and a shoulder to lean on. His gesture of kindness reminded me that even in the darkest moments, there are people who care. As I navigate the tumultuous waters of divorce and rebuilding my life, I find solace in the small acts of kindness that remind me I'm not alone in this journey. Though the road ahead may be fraught with challenges, I'm determined to emerge stronger, wiser, and ready to reclaim my sense of self. During our conversation, my boss shared an impactful anecdote that touched the depths of my soul. He recounted the heartbreaking story of a close friend who, upon discovering his child wasn't biologically his own, was plunged into a profound state of despair. The weight of this revelation proved unbearable, leading him down a dark path that tragically culminated in his decision to take his own life. As the gravity of his words settled over me like a heavy blanket, my boss's genuine concern and compassion became increasingly evident. He reassured me of his unwavering support, offering a guiding hand through the turbulent waters of my emotional turmoil. With empathy in his voice, he urged me to prioritize my mental well-being above all else and suggested taking a hiatus from work to focus on self-care. The notion of stepping away from the daily grind to embark on a journey of self-discovery resonated deeply within me. For years, the desire to explore the world beyond the familiar confines of my routine has quietly simmered beneath the surface of my consciousness. However, the demands of family life and the unrelenting care for my son often eclipsed this yearning, relegating it to the realm of unfulfilled dreams. But my boss's words breathed new life into these dormant aspirations, infusing them with a renewed sense of purpose and possibility. The prospect of venturing into the unknown, of immersing myself in the vibrant tapestry of cultures and landscapes that await beyond the horizon, sparked a flicker of excitement within me. Yet, intertwined with this newfound sense of wanderlust is the shadow of familial discord. My wife's skepticism and accusations of evasion serve as a sobering reminder of the fractures within our relationship. In response, I sought to clarify that my desire to travel was not a means of escaping our troubles, but rather a quest for clarity and introspection in an environment untainted by the weight of our shared history. Despite the complexities of our situation, I remain steadfast in my commitment to seeking solace and understanding, both within myself and amidst the vast expanse of the world that beckons beyond our doorstep. The strain of the situation has deeply affected me, causing a shift in my perception, especially towards our son. It's crucial to emphasize that my feelings are in no way his fault. I've cherished him since before his birth. However, given recent events, my emotional connection with him feels different. It's as though the foundation of our bond has been rocked, leaving me in need of some distance. To ease my troubled mind, I took a step towards a change of scenery by applying for a tourist visa to Kenya. Surprisingly, it was approved within just 24 hours, offering me a glimmer of hope and anticipation amidst the turmoil. I believe that for anyone enduring a tough time, immersing oneself in a different culture through travel can provide a much-needed shift in perspective. Though the timing may not have been ideal, the distraction proved invaluable for my mental well-being. During my time in Mombasa, I found solace in the simple joys of snorkeling, boat rides, and the genuine warmth of unfamiliar faces. It was a therapeutic escape from the constant thoughts of my son and wife, allowing me to be fully present in the moment. Despite the temporary respite, upon my return home, the reality of my strained relationship with my wife loomed large. The familiar surroundings felt foreign, and the presence of my wife only heightened my discomfort. I found myself unable to meet her gaze or tolerate the sound of her voice, leading me to distance myself even further, much to my own anguish. Amidst this turmoil, my son remains a beacon of light, his intuitive nature already sensing the tension in our household. Despite my inner turmoil, I want to make it abundantly clear that I will never abandon him under any circumstances. Navigating through the emotional storm, I've realized the importance of seeking clarity and resolution in our situation. While the decision to pursue a divorce weighs heavily on my mind, I understand that it's necessary for the well-being of all involved. However, the path ahead remains uncertain, filled with difficult conversations and tough choices. Despite the upheaval, I hold on to the hope that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Perhaps, in time, we'll find a way to rebuild what's been broken and forge a new path forward. Until then, I remain steadfast in my commitment to my son, determined to provide him with the love and support he deserves, regardless of the challenges we face. Feeling a bit distant from my son is unsettling, but I chalk it up to the recent upheaval. However, I recognize the need for change, and I'm determined to address it head-on. Regarding my marriage, my wife's suggestion of seeking counseling came as a surprise. She insists that her affair occurred in the past and that she's remained faithful since. But how can I be certain that history won't repeat itself? It's hard to trust her words, especially considering the circumstances. While I took precautions during our encounters, she engaged in unprotected intimacy with a former colleague. The fact that she knew our child wasn't biologically mine for 13 years but kept it hidden raises serious doubts about her honesty. That's why I opted for an amicable divorce, hoping to give myself time to heal. I proposed shared custody of our son because, despite everything, I still care deeply for him. He's not to blame for any of this, and I want what's best for his well-being. My wife seems to agree with my decisions for now. However, I fear that my feelings towards my son might evolve over time, and that's a daunting prospect. I've also made it clear to my soon-to-be ex-wife that she must reach out to the biological father and inform him of the truth. It's crucial to address this openly and honestly. Initially, she wanted to keep this revelation from the biological dad and our circle of family and friends. I reluctantly agreed, but once the divorce is finalized, I intend to inform the biological father and brace myself for the challenging conversations with my parents, which won't be easy. Despite the pain and betrayal, I remain optimistic about the future. I believe I'm still young enough to start anew and perhaps even build a new family. As divorce proceedings move forward, I'm actively seeking a new living space, intending to leave our current home to my soon-to-be ex-wife and our son. It's a difficult transition, but one I hope will lead to a brighter tomorrow.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and click on the little bell icon for notifications of new stories.